Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster, and welcome to the Heal It Show. Today, we're going to talk about the neurodegenerative disease, Alzheimer's. It is a disease that is impacting many, many millions of Americans today. It's a progressive memory loss. There's cognitive decline with it, behavioral changes. I personally have been impacted by it, by a grandmother and a stepmother in my world. And I want to talk about it. We're still trying to get to the cause of it and the cure for it. But I will tell you this, that right now the research looks like there's some genetic challenges that may be impacting here. There are environmental issues, lifestyle issues that are all contributing to Alzheimer's. So that's good news. It's good that knowing some of the areas that we might be able to mitigate the risk is best we can. I know that in a lot of the medical doctors I've had on this show, a lot of people in the show that have come on, they're talking about chronic inflammation, and it impacts so many different areas of our life. Stress is another factor. Now, whether stress is, I haven't done the research, my guess probably has, whether stress is a factor in creating Alzheimer's. My guess is that it probably is, but do we have the research behind that? I'm not sure. But I do know this, stress can lead to overeating, can lead to lack of exercise that can create poor blood circulation, poor flow of that circulation to the brain. I think that that's going to do it. I know also, in our food system today, the USDA right now has approved over 10,000 food additives. In Europe, they have about 400 food additives. I also know that Alzheimer's is not as prevalent in Europe. Is that part of it? Are we getting toxins and heavy metals in our food supply? Well, most likely. And, I think that there's also issues that we have in the country of, what are we putting into our medicines? Okay. I think, we got to really start to look at that in a lot of different ways. Listen, we got to, we're really smart people. If we follow the science, and the science is not distorted by interests that want to, let's say, put products, whether it be food or drugs, out in the world for their own purposes, for making money or greed, or for whatever the companies, that satisfy the shareholders in the company. If we really follow the science, we've got solutions here. And I believe there are natural and holistic ways that we can really at least prevent what we're doing here. When it comes to degenerative brain disorders. Is it a cure-all and end-all? No, but there are natural approaches that we can definitely use. I know myself. I use intermittent fasting. I do use keto diet. I exercise regularly. I continue to learn and grow and evolve, and I'm a learner, right? I didn't stop my brain from learning, but I also get quality sleep. I meditate. I calm the mind down. I treat my brain and as a as it should be, right? We should nurture our brains. We should nurture our bodies. Take care of our health, and if we do that, I might get it. I've got it in my family, but you know what? Their lifestyles are completely different than mine. Okay. So, I think that's an important piece. In fact, a lot of times when we have a genetic what do I want to say? The word's not coming, but if we have the genetic gene that, I forget which one it is now on Alzheimer's, but it's like, here it is. APOE4, which is a gene variant that increases the risk, but that doesn't guarantee Alzheimer's. If we have that, we can still mitigate the risk. All right, so that's my thinking. That's my point of view. And now I'm going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to have my guest, who I'm so excited to have here. She's going to give her knowledge, wisdom, and research that she spent decades doing around this disease. We'll be right back.
Whether because of discomfort, lack of mobility, your lifestyle, or occupation, you sit inactively way too many hours a day. Introducing Ellipse, the premium quality automatic seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation without physical strain or impact.
It is so quiet that none of my coworkers even know I'm using it.
Strengthen and tone your legs, increase your mobility, flexibility, and balance. Plus, stimulate healthy circulation.
My joints feel better, my knees feel better, my back feels better. It makes me feel stronger too.
Perfect for home therapy. Whisper quiet to use while you work.
My circulation is moving, I'm burning calories, and it makes me feel energetic.
Call now and order Ellipse, the seated exerciser that strengthens legs, increases mobility, and boosts circulation. Call and get upgraded to the Deluxe Bundle. Get the faster motor or 5 miles of steps per hour, the step counter, the sport mat, and wireless remote. Call now.
Well, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. I'm so blessed to have Lisa Skinner on my show today. Lisa, it's great to have you here.
Hi, Ken. Thanks for having me. And I want to tell you, I am so inspired by everything you just said because you're doing everything right in terms of actually minimizing your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. So kudos to you.
Thank you for that. You're the researcher. You've done the research. In fact, let me give you a proper introduction because a lot of my show audience doesn't know you yet, but they will. Lisa Skinner is a renowned behavioral specialist with over 30 years experience in Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. Throughout her extensive career as a community counselor, private advisor, and regional director of the senior care facility, she has empowered thousands of families and caregivers to navigate the challenges associated with brain diseases. She holds certifications as certified dementia practitioner, certified dementia care trainer through the Alzheimer's Association. She's also possesses a degree in human behavior, underscoring her comprehensive understanding of the complexities of dementia-related conditions. She also has a book out we're going to be talking about. So I'm so happy that you're here. You got a lot of, you've seen it from firsthand experience, right? And thank you for sharing. I'm doing some things right. That's good.
That's very exciting.
Yeah. So from your expertise, right? How do you distinguish between normal aging and, forgetfulness? I forget things now and then. My wife and I laugh about it all the time. Oh yeah, you got a senior moment or something. I tell her not to say that anymore though, because I don't want to affirm that. But, how do you, between that and dementia, the early signs of dementia, how do we distinguish that?
That's one of the things that makes these diseases so difficult. There are actually over 200 known diseases that cause dementia. And when we use the term dementia, we're really referring to all the symptoms that are related to these brain diseases as they damage the different parts of our brain. Now, Alzheimer's is the most common, the one that most of us have heard about. There are, like I said, over 200. I don't even know all 200, but, Lewy body disease and Parkinson's disease and frontotemporal dementia, on and on and on. But they all have something very much in common. The symptoms don't typically show up and are blatantly obvious to any of us, including our physicians, until we're well into our mid-stage of the disease. In fact, we can live with Alzheimer's disease or some of these other brain diseases for a decade or more with no symptoms at all. So to answer your question, how do you tell the difference between normal age or aging forgetfulness and whether or not there's an actual brain disease growing and doing damage to your brain is very difficult. We don't have the diagnostic capability to differentiate between the two now. And then there's an intermediate step that we call mild cognitive impairment. But what I can tell you is that the signs eventually become very obvious and very apparent if the underlying cause is due to a brain disease such as Alzheimer's. So just like you, Ken, I forget names. I mean, I'll be talking to somebody and I want to, refer to a friend, and all of a sudden, what I'm saying, the name just flies out of your head. That happens to me all the time. Periodically, I walk into a room and look around and go, I don't remember why I walked in here. And then I walk out and I go,
the difference between maybe me and you and others, I personally have had that issue since I was a kid. Okay. For me, face recognition, like my wife can see, she'll see an actor, I don't know, Robert Redford on the screen, and he's in a different role, and I won't recognize him. She will. Now, I've had this as a kid. When it comes to over the years, I've learned I've got really great short-term memory, right? I can study for tests and things like that and recall great, but my long-term isn't necessarily there. I won't necessarily remember a person's name or a face, but I've had that since a kid. So how do I differentiate between, wow, this is what I've always had and this is getting worse? I don't know.
Well, the encouraging news is those periodic little brain hiccups that you and I have given examples of are perfectly normal at pretty much any age.
Yeah.
And, as we tend to get older, they might happen a little bit more frequently, but it's still perfectly normal.
Perfectly normal.
The biggest difference really between full-blown dementia and mild cognitive impairment and normal aging forgetfulness are a couple of things, couple of variants. The frequency with which they're happening and the severity with which they're happening. So the little brain hiccups that we all, tend to, oh my gosh, I don't remember where I put my glasses. Oops, they're on top of my head. I mean, I do that. I did that yesterday.
I got a wife that does that too. So yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody, to just reassure you, this is all part of normal aging.
Yeah.
And it, like Ken has experienced, it can happen at any age. So don't worry about that.
Well, I've noticed, I want to mention one thing, we don't necessarily, know exactly what's causing this yet. And we don't have the diagnostic tools to go, well, in 10 years, if you keep on this lifestyle, you're going to end up with that. We don't have that. I know though, like in cancer right now, mammograms pick up cancer, in the breast and what have you, mammograms, but thermal imaging can pick it up 8 years earlier. Okay. When it's just a tiny cell splitting. So that's interesting because when again, it's like, with the thermal imaging. Now, is it 100% accurate all the time? No, it's not. But I know one thing, if you got to do a thermal imaging and, and it's, 60 to 80% accurate, you see something in there, you can go, oh, maybe I need to stop eating sugar. Maybe I need to create an alkaline environment in my body. Maybe I need to start doing something so I can be preventative instead of continuing on that path, right? There are certain things we know cancers thrive on, okay? I think the same thing, and we may have not discovered yet, but it seems like the same thing that Alzheimer's might thrive on. Is that accurate or no?
Well, there are theories out there. We can touch on that in a bit.
Yeah,
but
we can touch on the theories.
Yeah, but I do want to say, and I say this with a lot of conviction, if we had the ability to detect earlier on than we do Alzheimer's disease, we would be so far ahead of this disease, but we're just not there yet. Now, yes, we do have imaging and diagnostic tests, MRIs and PET scans. They can see subtle changes in the brain, but we cannot detect it early on. And the main reason is it can live in our brains for many, many years, and we show absolutely no symptoms. So what is the motivation for a doctor to even do any of these tests if you're not even showing any symptoms yet? So the symptoms typically show up in the mid stage, starting about the mid stage. And then all of a sudden they become so blatantly obvious to everybody, mainly family members, and they say, oh, there's something going on with mom here. And now that I think about it, there were signs, but I just didn't pick up on it because so many people forget a name and things that, part of the normal aging process. So that's one of the biggest challenges of living with Alzheimer's disease and some of these other brain diseases is being able to detect it early enough to intervene.
I want to share something that I've learned over the years on that, because I think it's really important what you say. You're absolutely right. Most people, it's not diagnosed until mid or later stages. And the reason is that I had this explained to me by an MD down in San Diego. His name was Dr. Barnett Meltzer. And Dr. Meltzer was a brain surgeon who became, he decided to go into become a naturopathic MD and really start looking for solutions to what was going on in the brain. And he said this, he said, in stage 1, people can heal their bodies. Stage 2, same thing. A lot of times people can understand what's going on in their bodies and be able to work with maybe a practitioner to heal that. Stage 3, they see doctors. He says, that's when I usually see somebody. They're already in stage 3 before they come to me. And stage 4, it's usually past what I can do, okay, or most doctors can do. In stage 4, it's progressed too far. So I think there's a piece here that, and I'm in agreement with you. Stage 1 and 2, I have to say, most people will not realize stage 1 or 2 for many reasons. They may be in denial. They may not have the right education around it. They may be having other people tell them, don't worry about it. They may not have developed their own intuition. Most people have intuition that can tell them different things, but, and most people don't have developed intuition. We call it a gut instinct, or, it might be 50% accurate. But if you start to understand that you have the ability to understand what's going on in your body inside of you, now it takes some consciousness to do that, and it takes practice to do that. But I believe people can get there. Will it be 100% accurate? Yeah, intuition is 100% accurate. How many people have fully developed intuition? I don't know. 2 out of 100, something like that. It's not high.
Well, one of the things that I've discovered in the 30 years that I've been doing this, and I just want to mention too, that
actually, I've got to take a break. Hold that thought. We will be right back. I got to pay a bill. We'll be right back.
Imagine this is your money and someone wants to take it from you. Who is it? The IRS. Guess what? They want your money and they can take it, all of it if they want. Remember, they sent you that letter right over here that said, hey, you owe us a bunch of cash and we're going to take it from you right now. So what do? You fight back by letting our team of experts work it out with the IRS so you can keep your money. And hey, we're good at what we do. When you hire us, you get a team of guys on your side that know the IRS laws, and we'll fight really hard to save your money. So if you owe the IRS a ton of cash and you want to keep it, call right now and learn for free how we can help you put it back in your pocket. 5 minutes of your time right now can save you thousands of dollars. And the best part, it's a free call, so please call right now.
Well, welcome back to the show. This is your host, Ken D. Foster. I'll be right back with my guest, Lisa Skinner, who is an expert on the Alzheimer's diseases and so many more. In just a second, I want to mention that we have a YouTube channel that I encourage you to go subscribe to. You can find us on the Courage Network on YouTube. And if you subscribe, you'll be able to see all of our shows that come up for you. Plus, you'll be able to pass them on to family and friends that would be benefited by you showing them these shows. Okay, here we go. Lisa Skinner is back with me. Lisa, hi again. And
Hi.
Hi there. All right, listen, go ahead with your thought on that.
What I was going to say is, we didn't mention this before, but not only have I been helping families professionally for 30 years, but just like you, Ken, I've had 8 family members who have lived with one of the brain diseases that causes dementia. And 5 of those actually were blood relatives, and then 3 were through a marital relationship, like my mother-in-law. So I've been in everybody's shoes, both personally, and it probably was a lot of the inspiration behind me doing this professionally, because it is probably one of the most difficult journeys that any of us will ever have to experience in our lives. And the one thing that's been a common denominator in this whole experience of mine is, even though, as you said in the beginning, millions of people worldwide are suffering from this disease today, it remains one of the most misunderstood diseases of today. And that's for a variety of reasons. It's so much more complex than people seem to initially believe. It's much more than just causing short-term memory loss. It's so much more complicated than causing confusion. You mentioned a lot of the cognitive functions that we lose with this disease. So you had a tagline in your introduction that I noticed, and it said, change your brain, change your health. And this is kind of where we're leading with this discussion today, because it applies to Alzheimer's disease too. And there are many, many known risk factors that do contribute to a person's risk of developing it later on in life, that have been scientifically researched and kind of demonstrated that there are correlations between all these risk factors that are known, and making lifestyle changes and healthy decisions that can minimize a person's risk of developing Alzheimer's disease later on in life.
Well, let's talk, Lisa. Let's talk. Give me a few of those risk factors so my audience knows.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the 4 what we call non-modifiable risk factors. That means they can't be changed. And basically the way this works is, the more of these risk factors that apply to any one individual, the higher their risk becomes. They kind of become stacked against you. So 4 of them we can't change. The number 1 non-modifiable risk to developing Alzheimer's is our age. It starts to show up in most people starting at the age of 65, but then every 5 years after, the risk doubles. So by the time you're 70, your risk doubles to when you were 65, and so on and so forth. So by the time any of us are 85 years old, 1 in 3 of us will develop Alzheimer's disease. So age we can't change. We are the age we are. The exception to that is a rarer form of Alzheimer's disease called early onset, which shows up in people under the age of 65. And I just recently learned this week, as a matter of fact, that the youngest person diagnosed with early onset is now 19 years old. So the second, and you mentioned this, Ken, are genetics. So if any one of us does carry that APOE4 gene that we inherit from either one parent or two parents, that increases our risk. If you inherit it from both parents, you are carrying two of those dementia genes, Alzheimer's genes. So your risk is increased even more. Does that mean that you're going to develop Alzheimer's disease? No, it just increases your risk. So keep that in mind. Our gender is a non-modifiable risk factor. Females have shown to develop Alzheimer's disease more than men. And there's a couple of theories that try to explain the possibility because we live longer and also all the hormonal changes that women go through that men don't. And then finally, the last non-modifiable risk factor is our ethnicity. It's proven that some ethnic backgrounds do or are at a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease than other ethnic backgrounds. And you can't change your ethnic background. So if all four of those apply to you, then those are four stacked against you right off the bat, even before we get to the modifiable risk factors.
That's interesting. As you were talking, I was looking up, some of the other countries that have the lowest risk of getting Alzheimer's, and I think we should, of course, study those countries. Okinawa, Japan, Icaria, Greece, Sardinia, Italy, Costa Rica, there's Nicoya Peninsula, and Loma Linda, California. Interesting. So, those are also, several of those are in that one book called The Blue Zones, where people are living over 100. A lot, the percentage of people living over 100 is the highest around the world. So interesting. And
I think some of the theories behind those countries are due to
please do. Yeah, please do. Yeah.
I think the theories are really pointing strongly to lifestyle choices, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So that would be the next component to identifying.
Let's do this. Let me get a break in here real quick, and then we'll come back and let's talk about the lifestyle changes that promote health and decrease the risk of getting Alzheimer's. So
okay,
I like that a lot. All right, we'll be right back.
Hi, everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. We're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Ken D. Foster, your host with the voices of, with the Helix Show. Got to know where I am today. And I'm here with Lisa Skinner, who's an expert in the area of neurodegenerative brain diseases. We're talking about Alzheimer's today. I'm sitting here and thinking about this morning. I woke up, when I opened my eyes, I went into a place of gratitude because I know that that energizes me and my brain. Then I had some, I'm on this little cleanse right now, so I took some of that. Later on, I had my mushroom coffee, which is, it's no caffeine or anything like that in it, but it helps to decrease the risk of any cancers, the mushrooms that I take. And now I'm sitting here drinking my my fresh juice, right? That my wife squeezed beets and celery and carrots and I don't know what else she puts in there, good stuff. but I think some of that is probably good. Not a good, bad thing to help us not have those diseases. We'll see, But what do you say? What are the things that we can mitigate our risks around this lifestyle changes that we might be able to make?
There is a huge laundry list of risk factors that play into increasing or minimizing our risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. So I shared with you the 4 non-modifiable ones, the ones we can't do anything about. So let's focus on, I won't go through every one of them because it's too exhaustive, but I'll hone in and focus in on probably the ones that we really need to pay the closest attention to. And like I said earlier, Ken, you're doing all the right things. But the thing that's really encouraging about what I'm going to share with you today is we can implement these choices into our lives starting at any age, at any stage, and minimize our risk of developing Alzheimer's disease starting later in life at age 65 by up to 40%. No guarantee, though. You can do everything right and everything according to the recommendations and still get Alzheimer's disease. But the things that I'm going to share with you right now can make a difference, can make the difference. So we'll start with the number 1 modifiable cause of developing, your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease is cardiovascular disease. If you do have a heart condition, if you have hypertension, if you live with high blood pressure, these things increase your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. However, if they're being treated and managed with medications and exercise and, proper diet or healthier diet choices, you can negate that from being stacked against you and increasing your risk. The other medical conditions that apply to increasing a person's risk are diabetes. But again, if it's being managed with monitoring your glucose levels and medication and proper diet, it's modifiable. Some of the unusual ones that a lot of people might not be aware of is having sleep apnea or not getting restful sleep, as Ken mentioned earlier on. So if you do suffer from sleep apnea, that's manageable. There are CPAP machines and other things that you can do, but it is an increased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. Now, all of these have shown a correlation based on scientific research that will increase a person's risk. It does not mean that you will develop it, but Alzheimer's doesn't seem to want to discriminate against anybody. It's going to show up if it's going to show up. I've seen it in my family. That puts me at a higher risk. So some of the actual lifestyle choices that we can make that can make a huge, huge difference is in the things that we eat. So Ken mentioned that he follows a keto diet. That's one of the diets that's recommended. Something similar to a Mediterranean diet is recommended. So what that means is to eat more complex carbohydrates, less simple carbohydrates, which means less sugary foods, less processed foods. The worst foods we know we can eat are ultra-processed foods. The second worst foods that we have discovered we can eat that'll increase your risk of Alzheimer's are processed foods. No. Our brains, we know, do not like sugar. It's not our friend. And one of the things that happens as a result of eating these types of foods is systemic. And you mentioned it in your introduction, Ken. It leads to inflammation not only in our body, but in our brains. And we believe now that inflammation could be a contributing factor to developing Alzheimer's disease, in addition to those plaques and tangles that develop in our brain that we've seen upon autopsy in people who live with Alzheimer's disease. Getting regular exercise is so important, we've discovered. It doesn't have to be the no pain, no gain ideology that we all grew up with throughout our lives. Simple walking 4 or 5 times a week has demonstrated it can reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. You are keeping your muscles toned and your body, stimulated. And then the other modifiable risk factors that we know can make a difference in whether you are positioning yourself to minimize your risk or increase your risk is cognitive stimulation. So anything that you can do that keeps your brain active and your neurons firing and your cells continuing to replenish and stay healthy will decrease your risk. So the number one thing that any of us do is to learn foreign language, surprisingly. And the reason why is because the parts of our brain that we use when we're learning foreign language, like to translate from French to English or Spanish to English, is very powerful, very strong. Mm-hmm. The next thing is to learn a musical instrument. That uses those parts of the brain too. You have to, do a lot of translation with notes and translating those into making the music. Puzzles, Sudoku, anything that challenges your mind, anything that makes you use your critical thinking skills has been shown to minimize your risk or decrease your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease. And as I said, and I can't state this, you can start at any age. If you're 30 years old today, it may make the difference between you developing Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, this is all great information. I really appreciate it. And one thing that I believe, if you want to stretch yourself, stretch your mind, like Lisa is saying, one of the things you can do is you can go and get AI on your phone, ChatGPT or Grok, okay? And here, I'm going to tell you why to get those, okay? For instance, right now, I just looked up on ChatGPT. I asked the question, medications that are high risk for getting Alzheimer's disease, okay? And it listed, okay, several categories of drugs. I'm not going to go over them all today. You can do this yourself. Several categories that have high risk that are impacting your brain that will put you in a higher risk to getting Alzheimer's. The other thing you can do with one of these AI apps is that here's what I do. I go to the store now and I read labels. And if I don't know how to pronounce it or I don't know what it is that I'm putting in my body, I use the AI app, ChatGPT or Grok, to ask it what is that chemical that they put in my processed food and what are the side effects. We have to take responsibility for what we're putting in our body. A lot of people are, I just say it bluntly, you're eating yourself into your grave. Okay, you're just doing that, and I hate to say it that way, but that's true. But we can switch that around. Lisa's giving a lot of great information here, how you can really mitigate this. But it's like anything else. If you're committed to being in your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100, and you want to have, there's no guarantees you're going to be sharp and fit and have a great body and all, but you can sure do your part to make sure that happens. And I don't know about you, Lisa, but I know that I definitely want to be the one that's proactive. And then if, if it's God's will that I get something else, then that's what I get. But at least I'm going to do my part. I think that's what we're saying here. Yeah. All right, listen, I got to take a quick break. When we come back, what we haven't talked about? We haven't talked about your book. I can't even believe we haven't talked about your book. Lisa has a book out there. It's called Truth, Lies, and Alzheimer's, Its Secret Facts. Truth, Lies, and Alzheimer's, Its Secret Facts by Lisa Skinner. You can get that on Amazon. Where else can they get that book, Lisa?
Any of the popular booksellers, the favorite booksellers carry it. I've even seen it at Walmart. And of course, my my website, you can purchase it.
Well, here's the thing. We've just touched. You're full of information and knowledge and wisdom. You've been in this field 30 years, and we just touched a little bit about the information that you have and what's in that book. I would say that if you really are on a quest, you really want to be as proactive as you can to not get one of these neurodegenerative diseases, then Lisa's book is what to get. If you're listening to me, hey guys, I bring in the best of the best. Lisa's one of them. I hope you'll go out and get that book. I got to take a break, Lisa, and when we come back, we're going to have some final thoughts on this topic. So we'll be right back.
Hi folks, Joe Namath here. Did you know that I wear hearing aids? I love my hearing aids and I am here to help you get a deal on the same brand I wear.
Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get MD Hearing's revolutionary Neo hearing aids for just $297 a pair. The Neo is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. And you can get 2 Neo hearing aids with a 45-day risk-free trial, free shipping, and free lifetime US-based support for only $297. The Neo is nearly invisible with its tiny in-the-ear canal design.
Call my friends at MD Hearing and get the over-the-counter hearing aids that I use for you.
Call now and get not 1 but 2 Neo hearing aids for just $297.
800-789-7885. Again, that's 800-789-7885.
Well, welcome back to the Heal It Show, and we're just about out of time today, but Lisa's going to be right back in just a second to give us some final tips. I want to encourage you to go to our website over there, to the YouTube channel, and look up us there at the Courage Network and subscribe to the Heal It Show. If you do, you'll be able to see all of our shows, and you'll also be able to pass it on to family and friends. So I hope you'll do that. Lisa, I'm going to have you back. This is so rich. There's just so many pieces that we just scratched the surface on. But we gotta kind of say goodbye here in a minute or two. Final thoughts for our audience.
I would say my recommendation, based on my experience, is learn all you can about this disease because it is so misunderstood. And if the projections that we're being told by the World Health Organization and the Alzheimer's Association is true, the number of people that are going to develop Alzheimer's by the year 2050 is going to triple. So be prepared for it. The chances of it striking your family are high. They're going to get higher. Be prepared so you can be proactive versus reactive. And that's the best advice I can give anybody.
I agree with you, and those statistics are probably very accurate because, they say that craziness is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Well, that's not what we're doing here. That's why Lisa is here. You don't have to be part of those statistics, and your family doesn't either. Learn what you need to learn, like she just said, and your risk of getting it will go down. What the heck? Let's be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Hope you'll come back, Lisa. Thank you so much for your time here. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks again. I'd love to come back. Thanks for having me.
Well, we'll work that out. And I want to thank all of you for listening to the show. It is so important when you hear a show like this to pass it on to family members and people that you care about. I believe that life is chiefly service. We are here growing, learning, evolving. We all want the best for everybody. We want, really good health. We want to be peace. We want to have peace of mind. We want to be secure. We want to, be happy. We can do that when we educate ourselves with wisdom from the teachers like Lisa, who has a lot of experience, a lot of wisdom from being in the field for so long. So I hope you'll pass it on, and I hope you'll learn and you'll grow with me as we continue to bring some of the top, I want to say, practitioners like Lisa, doctors, naturopaths, holistic practitioners, people that know about the brain and the neuroscientists on this show to help you to grow your life and be healthy. All right, till next time, just stay healthy. I'll talk to you soon.